Hey, everybody, back to a special episode of Big Apple Hockey because this is a day we've been waiting for and can't believe this is a day we've been waiting for. Already, 21 of you guys are with us. That is fantastic to hear. We are waiting to get John Folkowski to be joining us in a minute. Obviously, I am joined by Mr. Anthony Orocco already. I, of course, am Marc Williams because I am still in disbelief, Anthony, that Chris Drury pulled this off. I still, even when the tea leaves said he was going to pull this off, I still can't believe he did it.
Wait, I thought we were doing this show because the Islanders just acquired Pierre Engvall. I thought that's what this was about.
Well, and I mean that's news too. So,
but no, yeah. In all seriousness, you know what it is? I think Chris Drury didn't intend on acquiring Patrick Kane. I think when he acquired Tarasenko, he truly wasn't looking to get Kane, but I think when Kane pretty much essentially, came out without exactly saying it, but once he found out that Kane really only wanted to play for the Rangers, I think he felt obligated to make the move. And I don't blame him when a future Hall of Famer, one of the best American-born players of all time, says he wants to come to your team. I mean, you do it, especially given the cost. The cost was peanuts. It could end up being a first-round pick, but even still, even if it is a first-round pick, I mean, it is what it is. Teams trade first all the time. You're seeing it across the league, going on today and other trades. It's just what's happening right now. So, yeah, they got him for nothing. But again, that's what happens when a player exercises his right. He only wanted to go to one team, and the Rangers capitalized on it. So, but before we get more into that, I just wanted to ask you, Marc, a question, because another angle I look at of the trade. Patrick Kane, I'm curious to see if Blackhawk fans are going to be upset with him. By him only saying he'll go to the Rangers, he really handicapped his team and really caused them not to get a great return. Like, for instance, if you go to 10 teams, the return on Kane's looking a lot different than what the Rangers had to give up. So, Marc, if you were a Blackhawks fan, would you have hard feelings on Kane that he essentially, hamstrung your team into getting very little in return for him? Because that's what happened.
My gut reaction on that is no, because it was the only team he was going to want to go to. He has earned the right to be able to say, look, I'm going right here. That's it. And he's won 3 Stanley Cups for an organization that when he got there, the organization had 3 Stanley Cups. Like, they are not, I mean, people want to talk about the Rangers. Oh, the Rangers only got 4. Blackhawks only had 3 up until the dynasty that they just had. And arguably, if you want to say the modern day dynasty, I'm fine with that too. But Anthony, as far as Patrick Kane goes, the amount that he's given that organization, he has earned the right to say, trade me there. I don't care about anywhere else. And I mean, I got a bit for this that's going to be on tomorrow night's show that I can't wait to share with everybody.
I just want to cut you off briefly just because it's official now. Matthias Ekholm and a 6th-round pick to the Oilers for Tyson Barrie, Reed Schaefer, a 1st this year and a 4th.
You know something, Anthony?
Monster trade.
And by the way, as we're delaying a little bit of the Patrick Kane coverage, everybody, 48 of you are watching right now. And if you haven't hit the like button for us, please hit the like button. But Anthony, it's a good thing you bring that up, because hopefully we'll be able to break down this trade and a lot more of the trades, not only just tomorrow night on our weekly show, but also we have the trade deadline special coming up on Friday from 12 to 4. We're going to be going through all the trades that are happening. There's still going to be even more trades. It looks like the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to make 7 more trades right now. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and they're up to something.
Rasmus Sandin was just traded today. There are so many other things. We are going to be covering more of the Patrick Kane situation. We're waiting for our good buddy John Folkowski to get in with us. We now have 51 of you joining us right now. Thank you very much. It's great that we have everybody that has been dying to talk about this, because Anthony, it was a done deal. Our buddy of the show, Dave Pagnotta, more specifically your buddy, said that it was a done deal. It was just they had to broker it, but it's it's amazing. It truly is. I still can't believe that this is actually happening.
Yeah. Again, I thought once they acquired Tarasenko, it was over. But like I said before, I think once Kane made it clear that he wanted to play for the Rangers, I think Drury was kind of obligated to really make it happen. And obviously, when he found out what the cost was going to be, it turns out to be a no-brainer. So huge pickup for the Rangers, and I get old Ranger fans being excited. You just acquired Patrick Kane. That's awesome. But I mean, I look at it as I really don't think, and I've expressed this before, I really don't think the Rangers needed Patrick Kane. They score enough goals as it is. They have a lot of guys that can put the puck in the net. Zibanejad, Panarin. I mean, their offense has never really been an issue. Their team defense and how they defend, and surprisingly enough, the really subpar goaltending is the issue. So, yeah, Patrick Kane is going to make them more dangerous offensively for sure. But if they don't shore those two things up, I mean, it really won't matter all that much. I mean, me personally, I think if I was a Ranger fan, I would have rather got Gavrikov from Columbus because he's defends so well. He would shore up your defense, and then add another piece like Barbashev. I know he went somewhere else to Vegas, but it's not the sexy move. But I think those two guys honestly make the Rangers a better team. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Sorry about the technical difficulty on my part, guys. I just wanted to let you all know. Check out, we have it right here, the article that I posted on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com, Kane and Abel, and it kind of goes through a little bit of what is going on right now. And now that it's finally happened, breakdown of the numbers, both the numbers of Kane throughout his career and with Panarin. Because that's usually the headline around of all this, Anthony. Everybody's saying, "Oh, they got Panarin, they got Panarin." Well, let me just address this, and then we're going to get back to this in a second. And I do worry about that. I do worry about that. I think there's a little bit of too much star talent. Too many cooks spoil the stew is usually what the saying is. I would have to say that it's a pretty good situation to be in if you're the New York Rangers. Right now, Patrick Kane has 16 goals from the right wing position. The number 2 guy on the Rangers is Capo Caco with 12. You need more production from the right wing. And yes, it shifts things around. That is actually where we're going to get more into soon enough, as soon as Phil gets in. But I guess we might as well start going over this while we're waiting for John to get in. Again, everybody, by the way, if you're going to go see Patrick Kane, go on to SeatGeek, use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, get $20 off your first order. And right now, if it's from Madison Square Garden, everybody, you're going to need every dollar you could possibly get. So, again, watch our weekly special tomorrow night. Our trade deadline special is coming on Friday. You're going to get me and Anthony for 4 hours. Hopefully, we'll be able to announce more trades than you got to wonder who the next domino is that's going to fall, Anthony. And let's get down to it, Anthony. Patrick Kane is a New York Ranger. The Rangers gave up a conditional 2024 second-round pick and a 2024 fourth-round pick that becomes the second-round pick becomes a 2025 first-rounder if the Rangers win 2 rounds of the playoffs. Anthony, that's a great condition because that means basically either the Rangers succeed or nothing.
I mean, the thing is, they're going to have a tough matchup against New Jersey in the first round. So, I mean, it's not an absolute guarantee where, they do advance first, meet the condition essentially.
And also a tough matchup in the second round as well.
The deal itself was a really good deal. Like I said, Kane only wanted to play in one spot. So that's why the return was so little. But, for the deal itself, as I just expressed, Patrick Kane is a Hall of Famer, and getting him is, really excited. It's definitely energized the fan base. It's, people are pumped up about it, and I get that. He's a hell of a player. He's going to help your hockey club. I just feel the Rangers could have went in a different direction to make their team a little better. I think the way they defend concerns me. And Shesterkin has a 9-10 save percentage. And you're going up against a Devils team that's a high-flying, high-octane team. And they just added Timo Meier to the mix, to a team that could already score a lot of goals. So if the Rangers don't, and also they haven't fared well against the Devils in the regular season. So if they don't shore up their issues, the Devils could really hurt them. Again, it goes back to, I think, Gavrikov and another two-way forward would have made the Rangers the better team than getting Patrick Kane. But what's done is done. Like I said, Drury felt obligated to get a future Hall of Famer that was begging to play for his franchise. So he's certainly going to help. Maybe he rekindles his chemistry with Artemi Panarin. But I think the Rangers are going to obviously be, very top-heavy inclined now going forward. And the thing is that Chris Drury, he's just an all-in move, no doubt about it, all-in move. But if they don't win the Stanley Cup, he's got to have a lot of egg on his face, because he's not going to be able to retain Tarasenko or Kane. Now you just gave up pieces for two guys who aren't going to be with you next season, all for naught. So it's a big risk he took, but he's hoping it's going to pay off in a big way, and maybe it does. But again, I don't blame him for getting Kane. He fell in his lap.
Well, also I have to say, yes, they have to shore up the defense. Clearly, K'Andre Miller not being around for 3 games. We're going to cover more of that tomorrow night. But it's one of those things that is going to be a factor for the Rangers. I know when you're talking about that their defense wasn't that good and that they needed to shore it up. They were actually second in the league in goals against average going into the All-Star break. And by the way, right now we have 74 of you in the chat and growing. Like seeing that. Make sure you're hitting the like button. So, I think I have the belief that Igor Shesterkin's going to get a little bit better. And I think Igor is kind of more focused down the road, which you shouldn't be. Never count your chickens before they're hatched. You need to focus on everything game by game. It sounds like a cliche, but that's what it is. But you're talking about the Devils, and I think this is where you're right about, and this is also what Phil's going to talk about when he gets in here. The Rangers are going to have 2 really good lines they're going to have to match up against in the Devils. You're going to have to match up against the Jack Hughes line and the Nico Hischier line. And the Nico Hischier line, you could say what you want about, the Rangers can beat that. Nico Hischier is really rounding into a very, very good two-way center. And Jack Hughes is already a star. So now you got to be able to make sure you're matching up against those teams in the playoffs. And you can argue, let me just give this to you. This was which one is which one's the better top 6? Is it the Devils? Oh, rat. I lost it. All right. Is it the Devils top 6 with Meier, Bratt, Bratt is a budding star right now, Hughes, or you still have Dawson Mercer and Nico Hischier versus the Kane, Trocheck, Panarin line, and then probably Tarasenko with, they might move around the stars too. That would really help things as well. You throw Capo Caco up in the first line, Vladimir Tarasenko on with Hedel and Lafreniere. Lafreniere becomes more playmaker, and then you really see what the potential is on everything. So, oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. In my haste, I accidentally put down the wrong numbers. Thanks for the guys for texting me. The more important thing is Patrick Kane, already a Conn Smythe Trophy winner. And the Rangers need a guy that's going to be just, they needed a player who's been through this before. His amount of playoff games, 132 points in 136 playoff games, 43 goals at 5-on-5, by the way. That is exactly what this team needs. Sorry about the technical difficulties we're having right now, everybody. So we're going to get everybody back on in right now. But look at this number. Patrick Kane with Panarin, only for 2 years, 80 goals, 115 assists, 195 points. Kane became the first American to win the Art Ross Trophy that year and won the Hart Trophy. And then Panarin won the Calder Trophy as well, beating out Connor McDavid, although Connor McDavid had plenty other time that he lost. Kane, 398 power play points, is 62nd all time. Keep in mind, that is a lot of players. And right now, the Rangers power play, 22.7, and that's 11th in the NHL, which is up. It was about 19th and below middle of the pack about a month ago. And I said before, Kane ain't coming. Drury found a way. The Rangers have given up, and let me get you this. The summation that I sent out about an hour ago, which was the Rangers gave up they gave up one first, a conditional second, another second, and a 4th-round pick, and Sammy Blais and Hunter Skinner for Vladimir Tarasenko, Nico Mikkola, and Patrick Kane. This is a huge fucking win. This is a huge win for the Rangers. And it does have a little bit of shades of 1994 of that they're going for this, and they're going for it right now. So we're going to get, and hey, there's the man of the hour right now. We finally have John Folkowski back with us.
Just a pain in the ass with some audio issues there. Sorry, everybody, but this is just big day.
Big day, arguably, in the history of the New York Rangers, to land a guy like Patrick Kane. By the way, once again, make sure you go into SeatGeek and use the promo code Big Apple Hockey. Philk, look, I'm just going to jump right in with you because we started. What are your thoughts on this Patrick Kane trade and what this means for the Rangers in the current lineup? Philk, I lost your audio. Okay. We're going to sort that one out just real quick. But this, this has been.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Good. What are your thoughts on this trade?
There are so much audio issues going on with this. I don't know why I've had so much trouble today. But this is probably the biggest trade in New York Rangers history because you went and you got what's seemingly a last piece offensively for a team that was starved for right-wing production. Just think about this. Opening night of this year, this team's right-wing depth was Kaapo Kakko, Vitaly Kravtsov.
Lost you again. Nah, lost you. And Jimmy Vesey. So like that is not a great right-wing depth on everything. So I got to agree with you on that, Phil. And they've gotten 12. They got 12 goals from Kaapo Kakko, who leads them in right wings. And Kane already has 16.
Can you hear me now?
You're back again.
I don't know what was going on there. Some sort of setting with the audio. I apologize, but it's the biggest trade because you took that depth, that just horrendous, probably some of the worst right wing depth in the league, and you just went and you got two just bona fide superstar players. And now you add a guy that's probably going to be the greatest American-born player of all time when it's all said and done.
Trending in that direction, yes.
And you added a guy who's 45th all-time in postseason scoring. He has 53 playoff goals in his career. And 52. And 43 of them have come at even strength. And this team has had troubles scoring in the playoffs over the years and an even strength in general. Now you put him with a guy that he has incredible chemistry with, or you can put him with Mika Zibanejad, and you're going for it. This is a huge deal. This is a huge trade deadline, and this is the piece that they've needed for quite some time. And in order to go up against a team like Boston, and I know that people are going to turn around and say, well, he doesn't play defense. You're not bringing him in to play defense. Don't talk to me about analytics, because raw point totals still tell you that he's on pace for almost 70 points despite playing with bottom six players. Like, he's playing with guys like Sam Lafferty, Jason Dickinson, a rotting corpse named Tyler Johnson is another guy he's played with. He's had decent chemistry in the last week or so with Max Domi. But, I mean, this is one of the biggest trades in the history of this franchise. So they're going for it. This is it. If they make another small move, I'd be shocked. I don't know if they have the cap space to be able to do that at this point. But they are absolutely going forward, especially with the moves that Toronto and Boston have made. The Devils getting Timo Meier is great for them, but you got to think that they're not nearly anywhere as improved as Boston is, as is Toronto. I mean, Edmonton now looks like they're going for it. They're trying to get Matthias Ekholm. And
by the way, thank you, everybody, for supporting us right now. And thank you, NHL GMs, for giving us nothing to talk about on Friday.
Yeah, seriously. But 95 viewers, thank you all for joining in with us here. I mean, this East is an absolute murderer's row of hockey. And I mean, it's going to be a real exciting playoffs in the East, because you've got just 4 teams that you could look at and you just say, wow, absolute juggernauts. If one of those 4 teams came out of the East, you wouldn't be surprised. And I would even say 5. I mean, you want to look at Tampa too. Tampa's, you can't sleep on Tampa. And these teams are just loading up. So, pending trade call, Ekholm is an Oiler. I mean, we're looking at some big moves today. But Patty Kane, this allows them to do a couple of things. You can take Patrick Kane and you can put him with either one of those 2 centers, with Mika Zibanejad or Vincent Trocheck, and you have just one of the best top 6s in the entire NHL, whether he's with Zibanejad and Kreider or whether he's with Trocheck and Panarin. Or if you want to get crazy, you can put him on your third line with Hedl and Lafreniere, and now you have a play driver on all 3 lines. And that creates just matchup nightmares. If you look back, take a look back at the 2016 Penguins and how that HBK line of Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel was their third line, and how Phil Kessel could have, how he was just feasting on opposing offenses and defenses, because you couldn't really stop him because you didn't have the firepower, the defense to go out after him at that point. So, I mean, the Rangers could take a trick from Mike Sullivan's book and use that as well if Turk feels up to it. And the Wild acquired Gustav Nyquist. This seems like this is the trade deadline special right here, boys. Surprised.
And you know what? There's still a lot of big names that are out there, Phil. That are going to be
Austin Rushoff to Nashville for future considerations. This is probably a cap clearing. Actually, no. He was Hartford. So it's not I don't know what this is.
Is it possibly to move Schneider down for a couple days?
Maybe, but it doesn't seem like he would have any impact.
I got to admit, I'm a little bit surprised about what the Wild has done. Thanks for our, at the moment, behind the scenes work of Anthony LaRocco.
Yes. Pierre Engvall, I mean, to the Islanders was a weird one. It just shows you Toronto is serious about winning. Carolina getting Jesse Puljujarvi out of nowhere was an interesting one, more so to make moves on really to make cap space to try to get Ekholm. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at Ekholm to Edmonton, and that's a big move for them because now they're getting serious about winning.
Everybody, by the way, make sure if you haven't done it already for us, make sure you're hitting that like button, the subscribe, and the bell, because we appreciate it. And YouTube also would like all of us to promote our content a little bit more. So,
absolutely.
I haven't been able to get to a lot of the comments yet. We'll get to more of those in a second. But do you think, reasonably speaking, that that's what's going to happen? That Turk is going to spread out the talent, or is he going to just hone in, play his top 6 horses, and then play the kid line, which he knows works, and then that 4th unit?
I think it's going to be the latter. I think the kid line is going to be the 3rd line, and then the 4th line is going to be your Goodrow, VC, and Mott line. And this is perfect because Jimmy VC has been a soldier for the Rangers this year, and he's been great. And they're actually talking about it right now. I think Kevin Constantine is actually talking about it right now on NHL Network. I have it on mute in the background. But he's talking about it, and you see their lines, and that's exactly what their lines look like. It looks like Kreider, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, Panarin, Trocheck, Kane, kid line or Young Bucks line, whatever you want to call them, 3rd line. And then 4th line is Goodrow, Mott, and VC. And now you have a reliable defensive winger on your 4th line. You have a 4th line that has a lot of speed, that has some finish, that has some jam. They've got to be one of the better 4th lines in the NHL. So this is huge for the Rangers, and I would love. I can't wait to see this team tomorrow night. I really want to see what this team's going to do. I really want to see what line Kane's going to be on, but I'd have to imagine he's going to play with Panarin.
I'm in disbelief about this. Honestly, I am. And as late as I want to say a week ago, when I did a little impromptu Sunday trade talk, I was still telling everybody there's no way they can get Patrick Kane on this team. And there were a lot of guys that kind of said, all right, well, what did they do with double retention? What did they do with this? I still figured they were going to have to give up a lot. Phil, there might only be one 1st rounder leaving in this entire sequence. And if they get a 2nd 1st rounder that they lose in this trade, it's because they're back in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're either going to be against, this is just we know which 3 teams they're going to be. I was originally going to say it's probably going to be against the Boston Bruins, but it could be the Tampa Bay Lightning. It could be the Toronto Maple Leafs. And
I would not sleep on Toronto right now. That team, the only question mark is their goaltending, but their team makeup is scary now.
Which, by the way, now we got 102 of you guys watching right now, and that's going to be something we're going to be talking about both tomorrow night, talking about some of the trades that have already happened, and then next week on the next Wednesday show, we're going to be talking about what we don't like about some of these contenders. So, I mean, Patrick Kane, though, Phil, 132 points in 136 playoff games. And in the time before that, like he was still a point per game player pretty much throughout the weaker parts of the last few years when they haven't won a playoff series. Because the last time they won a series, he hoisted the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And it's funny because Panarin came in the following season. He won the Calder Trophy playing with Patrick Kane, and Patrick Kane's big MVP Art Ross year. And then the year after, they get ousted by, I believe it was Nashville. And
correct, in a sweep.
Yeah, in a sweep. And and then all of a sudden, we're trading Panarin to Columbus for Brandon Saad. And it's just like, why? So, but yeah, the skill is just tremendous. He's still skilled. I mean, I know people have questions about the hip. I think he looks pretty damn good as of late. I think that maybe he just wasn't motivated, and it's hard. I know that a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, well, you show up to play every night." When you're in a situation like that where you've got nobody to play with, where you've got very little talent. Jonathan Toews, you got to remember, Jonathan Toews is a shell of himself. This isn't the Jonathan Toews of 2019 that had a career high in points. This is a Jonathan Toews that's worn down, It's broken. That's dealing with ailments of his own, physical, and even maybe he had an autoimmune condition at some sort.
Yes.
That he was dealing with. This Chicago team isn't anywhere close to where they were. Alex DeBrincat's now gone from last year, and Kane scored 90 points playing with DeBrincat last year. Think of what he's going to do playing with one of his best friends on a second line in New York in a cup chase.
And he's motivated.
And he's motivated to win. He wants to win. He's where he wanted to be. Does anybody remember the smile on Vladimir Tarasenko's face when he stepped onto that ice for that practice, that first practice with the Rangers? He knew that he went from a situation where it was doom and gloom and he hated coming to work every day to a situation where he was happy because he was on a contender that they were going to win. So,
and that's a huge factor, Phil. I mean, this really is like shades of 1994 all over again, where now you're getting guys with experience that have been through the grind before to go with what the Rangers already had. Now, the Rangers were compiling Edmonton Oilers and then just went over the top. And then you had a guy like Brian Leetch go off with the greatest postseason that an American player ever had up until that point. And now they got Patrick Kane in tow, which, by the way, your first two games against the Flyers and Ottawa, which, by the way, I'm going to be at the game on Thursday night. I mean, I think fans are going to expect the Rangers to win 9-0 both games. That doesn't always happen, everybody. It takes time, especially for skilled players, to get used to their roles with new teams. And it's taken that time with Vladimir Tarasenko. He only has 2 goals right now as a New York Ranger. But you like what you've seen. And, Phil, you look at that team on Sunday night. That team on Sunday night looked like they had a great power play, and they did it by taking Mika Zibanejad and putting him back in the bumper for these situations.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, the biggest challenge to Gerard Gallant right now is probably going to be that the 5-on-5 lines aren't going to be much of a problem for him. It's going to be the power play. What are the power play configurations going to be? But, with that, now you have another weapon for the power play, and then, you have an improvement on the second power play unit as well, presumably. So you're taking one of those guys from that top unit and you're putting him down there because Patrick Kane is not playing on your second power play unit.
No, he's not.
That right now. This guy is one of the best power play specialists of the entire salary cap era. You're putting him on your top unit, and he's just one of the best passers in the league. He's one of the better shooters in the league. You're not putting him on unit 2. So that's going to be Gerard Gallant's real problem, is just going to be figuring out who goes down. You're probably not moving Adam Fox. I'd imagine they're probably not moving Mika Zibanejad, probably not moving Artemi Panarin. And you would say the other spot is probably Chris Kreider. I mean,
yeah. Well, they need the net front guy. It's going to be Kreider.
Yeah. So I mean, so your second unit is probably going to look like Trocheck, Lafreniere, Hedl, Kakko. I would put Keandre Miller there. I would take Jacob Trouba off the power play, and I would put Keandre Miller on there. So for me, that's great. I just it's a matter of whether or not Gallant makes the right moves with the power play. And does this trade translate to playoff success? Well, I mean, we have to wait to find out, obviously, but I'm going to tell you right now, you just added one of the best playoff scorers of all time, and one of the top, I would say, 5 or so best of the salary cap era. So I would say that bodes well for this team. That's just me.
And I listed a lot of the guys that ran around in this. By the way, Osberg is saying to me right now, I forgot to mention that they dealt away Kravtsov. Vitaly Kravtsov was never a factor in my mind on anything. So, in other words, the Rangers at least got back. I forgot even the player that they got back. If he plays a game for the New York Rangers, I'd be shocked. So, at least there's a depth forward, I guess. I don't know. Are you comfortable though with Barclay Goodrow being the fourth line center?
Yeah, I have no problem with him being a fourth line center. Would I prefer him to be a winger? Sure, but I have no problem with him playing center. I don't think he has a problem playing center either. Oilers acquire Matthias Ekholm. It's official.
All right. So it's official on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, this is unbelievable, everybody. This might as well have just been the trade deadline special. But since it's not the trade deadline special, if you tune in on Friday, we're going to have 4 hours worth of hockey talk, and there's still going to be trades going up till 3 o'clock because somebody is going to eventually acquire Jacob Chikrin because it's never going to ever end. Got some autographs, photos that were given away too. A Capo Caco one. For the Islander fans, I got Brian Trottier, got a Brock Nelson that's also right here. There's a Filipino autograph puck. And we also have a Mark Stone authentic jersey that we are getting rid of or giving away. So everybody keep it here and watch with us. So, I mean, but Phil, that is like the money question. You look at the way the Rangers are set up now, these matchups really kind of slant towards them versus the New Jersey Devils, especially with playoff experience. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that's obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I think that's going to be more so the matchup. It's going to be them versus the Devils, and the Devils' speed will give them a little bit of problems, but how is the Devils' defense going to handle the fact that handle that top six and then that third line? That's really what I want to know. The Devils will now have a pretty good third line with guys like Eric Holla and Andre Palat on it. That's a really, really good third line right there. With those two. I give the Rangers the advantage just because they have the playoff experience that I think the Devils don't have, and two, I just think that their goaltending and defense is better than the Devils. The Devils' speed will absolutely play a problem. If you ask me who wins this series, I say Rangers in 6. I think it would be a competitive one, but I do think the Rangers will come out on top on that.
Well, as I mentioned, we'll go into what you don't like about certain teams and what you do like about other ones later on, where that's going to be something we're going to cover next week. We're going to cover more about the trade deadline tomorrow night. And I can't help but look at them and just think this team can now match up against anybody. And they might get you with some offense, but they were second in the NHL in goals against at the All-Star break. But Anthony's right. Their last month, they've not been doing well. They haven't integrated Mikkola and Tarasenko well defensively. However, the offense has been fantastic. And Igor Shesterkin looked more like Igor Shesterkin, I'm going to say Saturday, never mind Friday. I know everybody's going to get on me for Saturday, but Saturday he had 5 goals he had no chance on.
Yeah, I really didn't get to watch Saturday's game. I wasn't available for it. I went back and watched highlights, and yeah, he didn't have a chance on any of those. He looked like
maybe on the second one. That's it.
He looked like himself Sunday. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with Victor Arvidsson getting a goal on a high stick.
Yeah.
I digress.
Yeah. That shouldn't have counted. To me, he only gave up 1 goal because that goal should not have counted.
I think, by the way, that also, Phil, I think that was sort of like shades of the Sonny Milano thing where he made contact with the puck on above the crossbar, but when it left his stick, it was under the crossbar. So maybe that's a rule they're going to have to clean up. By the way, Phil, we have 117 people watching us right now. Everybody, make sure you are appeasing the YouTube gods and hitting that like button for us. I mean,
look at the names that each team has acquired. Boston has gotten Garnet Hathaway and Dmitry Orlov. Tampa Bay paid a premium for Tanner Jeannot. And then Toronto, to me, I think they did the most to improve. I think it's arguable between them and the Rangers, but Toronto went out and got 3 centers that desperately play the type of games that they've needed to acquire over the last however many years. So I will say that they did a hell of a job, and then they got Jake McCabe too, which was another tough, defensive defenseman that they needed. So Toronto has really loaded up. They just have questions in net, and then you have and then Gustafsson as well. And I thought they would turn Gustafsson into an asset, but they went and they're going all in. Toronto, they are all in, and then. New Jersey, they got Timo Meier, which was a big deal. Carolina went and got Jesse Puljujärvi, which I don't think they're done. I think they're going to make another move, but I don't know what moves they can really make. Maybe a James Van Riemsdyk. Yeah, I'm not really even sure what they would do.
And is that a needle mover if that's James Van Riemsdyk?
I don't know. I really don't think so, but. Could he contribute? Yes, but you really feel happy about getting James Van Riemsdyk and Jesse Puljujärvi to make up for the loss of Max Pacioretty? I wouldn't.
And there's still teams that are calling in right now about Kevin Hayes from the Philadelphia Flyers. That's another one.
Yeah, I mean, he could be moved. I mean, I like Pierre Engvall for the Islanders. I don't know if that's really a needle mover. I think he kind of brings what they already have. He's big, but he doesn't really use his size. Thank you very much, Johnny Red. We appreciate that. We absolutely appreciate that. But I don't think that Engvall really does a whole lot on you or for your team. For the Islanders. I mean, it's a good player to have. Is he an upgrade over guys like Hudson Fasching? Yeah.
Who's played well.
Yeah, and he has played well. But I'm kind of surprised that they went and did that instead of something else. And then we have another one from, looks like Poppy Rican Pucks, I believe that is.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely Poppy Rican.
Yeah. We appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. But, I mean, Ross, yeah, I guess if you look at it this way, he's an upgrade over Ross Johnston. Yeah, I just think that they should have probably made another move for a middle sixer as more so than a bottom sixer. But the points are down this year, big time for Engvall. He had 35 last year. He only has 21 this year, and he may not hit 30. So,
yeah. Oh man, you want to talk about a dagger sent by somebody? Patrick, right here. Enjoy your 7 games, Toronto.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that I would probably take Tampa, and I would take them by the slimmest of margins, and it's only because of the difference in net. Because Tampa's defense is really not that great anymore. It's not. And Mikhail Sergachev is now playing bigger minutes for them. You don't have guys like Jan Ruda there anymore, and Ryan McDonough,
who was very big.
Who they were both two big defenders. Eric Chernak has looked really not all that impressive this year, and he's turned into a dirtbag. So I'm not really all that impressed. But thank you, Leo. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. And I mean, this actually, it's funny that you mentioned this. That do we think we need muscle? I think Toronto went and got some of that muscle. I mean, you got big boys like Achari, Lafferty, O'Reilly, who's a gritty player, McCabe. Those guys are all big. And then, I mean, Tampa has lost a little bit of that, but they just
hitting the nail on the head right here. Tampa's got no McDonough.
Yeah, they have no McDonough, and that's going to be a big problem for Tampa when they face a team like Toronto, because now Toronto's got one of the deepest teams in the entire league. They just upgraded that bottom 6 big time.
Hey, Phil, quick question for you. Who got more, us in the Super Chats just now or Chicago for Patrick Kane?
I think us in the Super Chats. Thank
you guys, by the way. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you both. We definitely appreciate that. And everybody just being here in general. I mean, we have 130. I think this is I think the most I've seen in any of my casts. I don't think I've seen this many. So
unfortunately, you weren't. You've had some times where you weren't available. The Vladimir Tarasenko thing broke during the day. Thank God I had to take an afternoon nap, So that way we got you here.
Chris Piazza.
Chris, hi. Thank you. Welcome to the show. But everybody, make sure you are hitting that like button for us. Smash that like, if you will, and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, the like button helps us so much. So,
yeah,
please do.
And we know we got plenty of other good pages, especially Hockey Talk on the internet. We're just hoping we're going to be your favorite. So, Anthony bringing this one up right here. Still some big names that have to be moved. Chikrin, Gavrikov, Korpisalo, Besser, John Gibson. You think?
John Gibson's possibly. State of Survival actually brings up a good one in Klingberg. John
Klingberg's going to be another one. That's going to be a big needle mover.
Yeah, that'll be a big needle mover for whoever grabs him. And remember, he's got a $7 million cap hit. So there might have to be some cap wizardry to fit him depending on where he goes. So
now, I mean, you also have, obviously, we'd said Chikrin before. You got other guys that are being bantered around right now, and we're supposed to have a fully produced show for you tomorrow night. Instead, we're winging half of this. But JT Miller is rumored to be on the move. What the hell would his market be? Talking about a guy with an extension already signed.
Yeah. I mean, he's close to a point per game player, this year. And he had a big 99-point year last year. And that was, I mean, things have just gone south for everyone in Vancouver this year. So I don't want to put a lot of the blame on JT Miller. I just think this is just a poorly constructed team. But Elias Pettersson is doing his thing, but Miller's still around a point per game, but he was never going to score 99 points again. I think that was just kind of I don't want to say a flash in the pan, but just an outlier type year for him.
We'll call it the Boudreaux boost.
Yeah, that too. I mean, you have an offensive wizard like Bruce Boudreaux come in. I just, it does wonders for guys. Alexander Ovechkin had some of his best years under Bruce Boudreaux, who took over for Glenn Hanlon in the middle of the 07-08 season, which was Ovi's big 65-goal year. Art Ross winning year. So, that could be part of it with JT Miller. But JT Miller is another one. When you have a team that's just losing game after game after game, it just comes tedious just to go to games. And even Marc, like you and I, we've played on those teams where it's just, the team is crap. You're not going to win. You're going to get the crap kicked out of you, and you just don't want to go and play. And you're kind of just walking into there begrudgingly, and you're just mailing it in for 45 to 60 minutes and just, goodbye. Let's just get this game over with and wait till next season where we get some more talent. And you know what? Some of these guys, it's the same thing. They're not immune to it. Like, it's and that's why a lot of times you see these guys get changes of scenery come trade deadline, and then they start going off.
And by the way, Phil, going into the famous line from Joe DiMaggio, pretend like it's the first day a kid is seeing you. That's what all of us fans kind of idolize and idealize. When we look at it and we think every player is going to treat every day like that. But it translates also just like what you said. There are just so many days where all of us are Spider-Man holding on to Iron Man as he's about to disappear, just saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go to work. Nobody wants to go to work. Sometimes it's a job. It's quote Cypress Hill in the quote from Rock Superstar. It's a fun job, but it's still a job.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's actually a good point. It's still a job. It still can be tedious when things aren't going well. And when the morale is down, that's it. I mean, even at your own job, if you have a job that you don't like, the morale going into there every day, and even me, the last job that I had before my current one, I hated it. I hated the hours. I hated the fact that I didn't have a social life. I wasn't a big fan of it. It wasn't paying very, very well, and it just I hated going to it. So it brings you down and it affects your performance. And these guys every day you see it. And I think really I think tomorrow night, he may not score a point, he may not score a goal, whatever the case may be, but I think you're going to see a rejuvenized Patrick Kane, and he's going to come out there and he's going to be playing with his best friend probably, or one of his best friends in Artemi Panarin, and the two of them are just going to make magic out there. And you're going to see them do some flashy things that are going to remind everybody of those mid-late 2010, those two seasons, 2016 and 2017 in Chicago with the two of them together.
Well, hopefully he gets a chance to actually be able to get in a practice with them, because, and I see everybody talking right now about possible line matchups, but I just get to this comment right here. Devontae, I was in Chicago and I saw the defeated look on a lot of fans' faces. This is all going to be for the best, and I think you encapsulated everything perfectly right here. Thank you very much, Patrick Kane, for everything that he's done for the city of Chicago, for USA Hockey over there. His career is still going. Same thing. This is almost extremely reminiscent of the Marty St. Louis trade, that it didn't feel like it was going to happen. Then it happens. St. Louis ends up scoring his first goal, I think, 3 weeks after becoming a New York Ranger.
Hold on. Got to interrupt. The Ekholm details have become official, and this is a big one. It's Matthias Ekholm, 4% retained, which is weird, and a 6th-round pick for a 2023 first, Tyson Barrie, Reed Schaefer, and a 2024 fourth. So one of the best power plays in the league is now losing its quarterback.
Wow. But you know what? That's what I guess they're hoping on Ekholm blossoming. Speaking about a guy that he's signed till 2026. So
yes, I believe Ekholm has 3 years left after this one, if I am correct.
Chris, hi, welcome to the show, by the way. Ducky Dunn, where do you think Jacob Chychrun goes?
Some people are saying LA.
I think that's a no-brainer one. It should be.
You know what? Ekholm has 3 years left after this one. I am correct. So, I think that if anything, Chychrun just makes a lot of sense for LA. They need another steady defenseman that can log 20-plus minutes a game. He may not ever have an offensive season like he had in 2021 again, but I can tell you right now, LA has the assets to get it done. And it's funny because they've been making moves that would signify that they want to win another cup for Kopitar before Kopitar retires. Dustin Brown's now gone. That freed up a lot of salary. So, I think this makes sense. And not only that, but Jacob Chychrun is young enough to the point where he's going to be a piece going forward. So it doesn't hurt nearly as much to give up prospects, especially when LA has a pretty nice prospect pool.
By the way, Phil, you talk about it in Bar Talk, our segment where every single one of our podcasts, we do NHL topics and we judge our confidence on them based on our choice of drink. But when I give Phil an easy one, usually he'll hit the easy button, which is just right over here. I got this. So you got that right there. So Phil, I threw this one out, and this seems to be a real big easy button for everybody in our poll that's in the chat. Do you think the Rangers won the Patrick Kane trade? 94% say yes, and only 6% say no. We're going to.
I want to see who voted no, because it's got to be either Blackhawks fans or Islanders or another divisional rival fan that isn't happy that the Rangers got Patrick Kane, because you just got a still superstar player for nearly nothing. There's no first round pick. It's a conditional. And even if it is a first round pick, even if the Rangers make the conference finals, they get to the Stanley Cup finals, they win the cup, whatever the case may be. That condition's triggered. It's a first-round pick in either 2024 or 2025. It's not even a 2023 first-round pick. So, and in this 2023 first round is pretty damn deep. It's one of the deeper drafts in quite some time. So they don't give up a first-round pick this year. They don't give up any of their top prospects. They don't give up any of their young roster players. How is this even an argument?
This was a trade that at the beginning of the season, people were putting Capo Caco in. The Rangers gave up a conditional second-round pick. Like, this is unbelievable, Phil. This really is unbelievable, and it's unbelievable. The 150 of you that are watching right now, everybody, make sure you're hitting that like button for us, and also make sure you're hitting the subscribe. Thank you all very much. We are at 66 likes right now. Let's keep them going. Let's keep them getting higher, and let's keep going. Let's keep talking a little bit more trade deadline information. Everybody, once again, as a reminder, our weekly show is tomorrow night, and we are still doing it, and we still have a lot to talk about, even though we're not going to cover everything tonight. And our trade deadline special is Friday. This is like Christmas to us right now. So
it's the most wonderful time of the year.
And by the way, here's the correct numbers with somebody that knows how to do math that texted me that I didn't realize I had a typo before. But Patrick Kane, also Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Phil, there's been 2 Conn Smythe Trophy winners traded in this trade deadline season, but only one of them scored a goal that won the Stanley Cup in overtime.
Yeah, and funny enough is he's actually going to play his first game with his new team against the team that he scored that overtime winner.
Exactly.
That serious clinching goal. So, yeah, the other Conn Smythe winner went to Toronto, and he did not score a serious clincher, but he did win the Conn Smythe with St. Louis in 2019. So that's another thing that this team's needed. A lot of the times when you get to a certain point, you have a younger team or a team that's not as experienced or a team that's looking to get over the hump, you go and you add experienced players. Look at the Islanders, for example. They went and they added someone like Butch Goring, and Butch Goring ended up being, that last piece in 1980 that helped put them over the top. And then he won the Conn Smythe in 1981. The Rangers, they took Mike Gartner and they dealt him for Glenn Anderson. And even though that was a terrible trade, they did it for experience because Glenn Anderson had won 5 Stanley Cups previously with the Edmonton Oilers. So, that's part of it. They brought in Kevin Lowe, who won 5 Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers. Jeff Bukaboom, who won multiple Stanley Cups with the Edmonton Oilers. Craig McTavish, another one, Stanley Cup. Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko have won Stanley Cups. There's 4 Stanley Cups combined between the two of them.
Before this afternoon, the Rangers had 3 Stanley Cups on their roster, and they doubled it today.
And that's incredible. That's a big, big move to make because you need guys in that locker room that know what it takes to get to that point and win it all. And if you don't have those guys, it's going to make it harder to win. So Patrick Kane being one of the best postseason scorers ever will go a long way in 2 different aspects of it in terms of leadership, experience, and scoring.
Phil, Patrick has a great solution on the 6% that said no, and he says the Islander fans were representing. So
yeah, probably it's something like that.
But by the way, Warren is saying that the Canes need to answer back, and that is one of the things we're going to be discussing tomorrow night because the Hurricanes, it's got to be more than Jesse Puljujärvi. That's for sure. But Phil, we were talking, and you're talking about the deals just now. You outlined my least favorite trade, the Mike Gartner trade. I still think the Rangers didn't need to trade him. Glenn Anderson was mediocre in the playoffs. That being said,
what a mediocre. That's being nice.
Yeah. But that being said, the big trade of that playoffs, yes, Craig McTavish was a big one. That was the 4th liner. But Tony Amonte being traded for Noonan and Matteau that tends to be the one I think that you look at and go, that was the trade that gave the Rangers the 94 Stanley Cup. Certainly gave them 2 overtime goals, and people forget how good Brian Noonan was for the 94 Rangers. So you look at this.
2 rounds, yes, he was very good for them in the first 2 rounds. But I don't even think he needed to be that good for them in the first 2 rounds. He just was.
Yeah. And arguably, Brian Noonan can say he was the one that scored the goal that won the Stanley Cup. But it's Marc Messier might have touched this somewhere. That's the better story to tell. So, sorry, Brian, you don't get it. Wow.
Yeah, that's it's always interesting to look back at that one. I know we've had the what ifs on here, and one of my biggest what ifs is if Noonan and Matt Hofer Amonte doesn't go through. If they don't give up Amonte for those 2, and you know what. We don't have to worry about that with Patrick Kane. That's the best part about it. There's nothing to worry about. And if the draft pick they end up giving up ends up being this incredible player for Chicago, okay. I mean, but you know what? The pick is a complete crapshoot. It's different from trading a guy that scored almost 70 goals in his first 2 years, was the runner-up for the Calder, and then had seasons of 69 and I think 74 points respectively in his first 2 years with the Rangers. So,
Brett is asking this one right now. By the way, Mike, I agree with you 100%. Brett's asking about this right now. Are we expecting the formal announcement tonight? Because I don't think the formal announcement I've seen it yet.
There's no formal announcement yet. It'll probably happen tonight at some point, if not tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow for cap purposes?
Yeah, maybe for cap purposes tomorrow it gets announced, but Kane should be in the lineup tomorrow night.
So I guess some Ranger fans should also be thanking the Las Vegas Golden Knights for showing us how to circumvent the salary cap or showing the entire league, because the Vegas Golden Knights were doing it within season. The Tampa Bay Lightning did it with the IR slot.
Yeah.
And this was sort of what that is. But Poppin' Sucks is asking us about this right now. He's definitely got to wear 88. I'm not sure if any Rangers ever wore number 88.
Some big guy that they used to call the Big E wore 88.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot about that guy?
I forgot about him. I'm going to check
he
to see
usually
if there's
sticks
any
out
other.
like a sore thumb. He kind of played on this line called the fly line for a little bit.
That line was great for that short period of time.
He actually was a part of Jaromir Jagr's first point in New York, by the way, Eric Lindros.
Well, he also played on that dominant Holik, Lindros, Messier line.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, imagine looking back at that line in like 1996 and saying, "Oh, this line would get together, but they would suck."
Yeah.
I would have laughed at you. That would have been one of the best lines in the league, I would have thought, if you would have told me that in 1996. But no, that line was not great together at that point. Messier was very old. He was, believe, like 41 or 2 at the time. And Lindros he had his first concussion in New York in his first season. It was December of 2001 in San Jose. It was Mark Smith who hit him. It was seemingly innocuous hit too. But yeah, Lindros wasn't the same the next 2 seasons. So
sorry about that, everybody. Hockey Reference decided to suddenly put volume on an ad for me. Phil, by the way, he's going to be the 3rd Ranger to wear 88. Eric Lindros was the last. What talked about traded for player originally wore 88 for the New York Rangers?
Adam Fox did. I know that.
But I think that might have been preseason.
It was a preseason game that he did it in.
Yeah.
88. I don't remember an 88 with the Rangers otherwise.
It's before your time. It was during my lifetime.
This might have been before my time.
It was the year I was born. He wore it.
What year?
And he's the guy talked about in a lot of Ranger trades talk. If I say
Middleton?
worst trade in Rangers history,
Rick
arguably.
Middleton?
Not Rick Middleton.
Ken Hodge?
Ken Hodge.
Okay.
So how about that? I mean, I'm looking at some of the numbers right now. I mean, no Rangers have worn 98 yet. And then 3 players have worn 93. One currently doing that right now.
Yeah. Yandel, Zibanejad, and Nedved.
Yeah. That's just wow. I mean, although then you got no Rangers worn 85 yet. The Rangers never got Peter Klima, I guess. So, all right, let's get on back to this. So, Potvin, I gotta say, he definitely wears number 88. And by the way, David is saying right here, this trade, humongous big. It is humongous big.
Yeah, I saw somebody saying to somebody before the old Brizgalov, why you have to be mad, it's only game line. So I thought that was pretty funny. Somebody was getting trolled in the chat for doing something. I don't know who it was. I saw it randomly as the comments were coming in because they were just coming in left and right at that point. Yeah, I do agree with B. Wright. Gartner definitely deserved the cup.
I wore 22 in juniors because I loved Mike Gartner.
Yeah, me too. I loved Gartner. I draw so many parallels between him and Marian Gaborik just in their style of play, the speed, the shot, the release. The fact that they were a little more perimeter players. What a shocker that Vegas led the way in cheating. I mean, it's a pretty funny comment.
I love this comment. This is great. This is why you fit so well with us, Patrick. But yeah, and also keep in mind who plays across from the Vegas Golden Knights now. the Raiders. They were known for cheating very well. Hey, Johnny Red got it. Yes, Ken Hodge.
With the Stickum. What's up?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, no. Yeah. Hodge. Yeah. Hodge. Yeah. I really. Ken Hodge is very forgettable as a Ranger in terms of his play. He was just awful. And that's probably the worst trade in Rangers history, if not Zubov and Nedved for Robitaille and Samuelson. But at least they got something out of Robitaille and Samuelson. They got nothing out of Hodge. So it's probably have to go to Hodge for Middleton. So
there's all right, going through a lot of the comments right now. Bundy is saying going to be the third Ranger wearing number 88. Bure was also a great Ranger. If you prorate his game-by-game basis, that arthritic knee was as bad. But going back to what you were saying before, Phil, because a lot of people kind of a little bit down on this trade. And Pavel Bure is a great example. He went from the Florida Panthers, who he was not enthused in playing with, and then they moved him to the New York Rangers in really at the trade deadline, and he was putting the puck in every single minute.
12 goals and 20 points in 12 games, including 2 hat tricks, I believe, if I'm correct. I believe one of them was against Florida, and I forget who the other hat trick was against, but he was on a line with Lindros and Marty Ruchinsky, and I remember that line just being just dominant. And they just down the stretch, if it wasn't for Richter and the slap shot by Chris Tamer to the head in Atlanta, I think the Rangers would have made the playoffs. I hated the York for Pody trade, but he helped give them a puck mover on defense. And when they got Bure, it made sense as to why they went the direction that they did. But that and then Fleury going into substance abuse again really hurt that team. And it was 2 years in a row that Richter and Fleury both going down just knocked them right out of the playoff race.
Joe, believe me, every Ranger fan knows Bure was a Vancouver Canuck.
If you were a Ranger fan, if you were a Ranger fan and you were alive for that 94 series and able to understand sports and the levity of what was going on, you were practically crapping bricks because of every time Pavel Bure got on the ice, because you knew that he could score at will. 60 goals, led the league that year. That was his second 60-goal season in a row. Only one other player had more goals in their first 3 seasons than Pavel Bure at that point, and that was Wayne Gretzky. So, So Pavel Bure was guy that your throat just dropped into your stomach.
Phil AZ is saying no slugs in the lineup anymore. No Nemeth, no Hayek, no Hunt, no Jesse's girl. No one on the fourth line is one of the best in the NHL right now. VZ Gujarat. Third line and fourth line is key in the playoffs. I agree with him 100% on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can get that kid line playing the way they did last year in the playoffs against a lot of these third lines that they're going to see, even that Eric Holla line you were talking about, I take that all day. So
yeah,
and but Tommy Smith is also asking, would you prefer Trocheck or Anisimov as a center for Patrick Kane and Artemi Panarin? I keep saying it all the time. He made Artem Anisimov into, I think, almost a 30-goal scorer.
Yeah, he was like a 20-goal, 50-point player, Artem Anisimov, on that party line with Kane and Panarin. But it's Trocheck all day. It's not even close. Trocheck was a more skilled player, better two-way player, face-offs, just a guy who just really, really just he can really be a pain in the ass for oppositions. And Anisimov, as good as he was really a middle six player that played up. So,
by the way, Frank has got a good idea. Power play 1, no defenseman. But you know what? Adam Fox is pretty good.
I think Adam Fox stays there. So,
I mean, there was a good question that was up here before. If they do have to move one of the guys, how would you, let me say this way, how would you change up the lines if you don't stack the top 6?
Well, like I said, if you change up the lines and you're not stacking the top 6, I'm looking at Zibanejad, Kreider, and Kakko. I'm looking at Trocheck, Panarin, and Tarasenko, and I'm looking at Kane, Lafreniere, and Hedl. And that would be the thing for me. I would really want to see.
And they got a few weeks.
Configuration.
They got a few weeks to try that out. Maybe that works, because that's how they found the kid line last year.
Yeah, and you know what? It could work. You know what? And not only that, but yeah, the issue with it is that, you know, you might be spreading your offense a little too thin. You also have the luxury at that point of taking your offense and creating 3 different lines of the play driver on each line. And now let's just say Kane, you want to get Kane away from a matchup, and you want to have him to support those other guys. That gives those lines more depth. So you're going to run up against, and I was just thinking about this, funny enough, you're going to run up against 2 teams like Boston and Toronto and look at what those third lines could be. Like, you could have on your third line, if they wanted to, you could have someone like Ryan O'Reilly centering Sam Lafferty and whatever. And then Boston's third line has Taylor Hall and Charlie Coyle on it. Like, wait, I have to go pull up their lines just to see it.
That's insane.
Those lines are insane. And
like, I give Taylor Hall about as much grief as anyone else, but wow, you're talking about he's going to get a third line matchup. Guy's a former MVP.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you have that type of player on the third line. Like, so Pierre Engvall was playing on Toronto's third line. Their top line was Bunting, Matthews, and Marner. Then Tavares, Riley, and O'Reilly and Nylander. And then it was Engvall, Camp, and Yarncroke. So you take Engvall out of there, and then you can move one of either Kerfoot, Achari, or Lafferty up to that third line. And that's still a real good third line. And now in Boston, that you have, like I said, it's those 2. And then I believe the other player was, no, Nebraska's on their top line. And I forget who the other player was on that third line. But it just, you have these weapons. And it's, okay, so I'm sorry. It was Nick Foligno, Charlie Coyle, and Trent Frederick. Where is
Trent
Taylor
Frederick's
Hall?
played pretty well for them too.
Is Taylor Hall hurt?
I'm going to check
Taylor
on that
Hall
one right
was
now.
on that line previously.
Yeah,
he might be injured.
I guess, Phil, I should say other breaking news is I'm going to be at the game Thursday and I'm bringing my girlfriend. So,
yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's almost as shocking as the Matthias Ekholm trade.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big day, man. This is a really, really. I don't think I've seen a day this big before the trade deadline. Like, this is crazy that they're getting it done this soon. Oh, San Jose are actually. Oh, wow. The Ducks traded Henry Thrun to the San Jose Sharks for a third rounder. He wasn't going to sign with them, so that's actually pretty sizable trade for a top prospect going from one rival to another. Kevin Hayes.
All right.
What's up?
What was the return?
Third rounder.
All right.
Yeah, not a bad deal for Anaheim to get a third rounder for especially from a rival too. So,
by the way, Joe, funny story. When I went to Vancouver, a friend of mine scheduled us for a little hike. He said it was like a 2-mile hike. It was the Grouse Grind. Yeah, it was an easy hike. So, if you guys haven't looked it up, Grouse Grind is one of the most deadliest hikes in all the world, they say. And I got a brother of mine that he goes jogging in a weighted vest through an alligator-infested park. Like, how is it that the other one's worse?
Yeah, that's an alligator-infested park. No thanks.
Yeah, I think I can skip all that.
So Kevin Hayes, it's being reported by Frank Saravalli that Philadelphia is willing to retain up to 50% of his salary. Now, he makes $7,142,857 against the cap. So cut that in half. That's $3,571,428 against the cap. But the thing is that Philadelphia would be retaining that for 3 years. 3 years. That's a long time.
That is a long time, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but then again, crazier things have happened, Phil. I mean, the buyouts of Suter and Parise, that basically cripples the Minnesota Wild, and they kind of looked at it and went, all right, we'll take a $12 million hit for 2 years and a $14 million hit for 2 more years.
Oof. Yeah, that's just bad. That is really, really bad. But I mean, Minnesota, they're trying to go for it. I'm surprised that they're going for it, but they are. So, but Kevin Hayes, I mean, he could probably catch a decent return at 50% retained. Nobody will take him at $7 million, at the full 7. But I'll tell you right now, 3.5, Kevin Hayes becomes a very attractive piece at the deadline.
By the way, right now we have we are at 81 likes. Everybody, come on, let's get us up to 100. And
yes, please like, share, and subscribe.
And of course, I like doing this because I always find it appropriate just to say, please appease the YouTube gods and like, share, and subscribe to us. All right. So yeah, there's been a lot of big moves today. And again, if you're gonna go see Patrick Kane either on the road or anything, use the SeatGeek promo Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. And of course, again, watch us tomorrow night. You hear me plugging this all the time because I want you guys to come back. Watch us again tomorrow night. We're going to have a great show, especially for Bar Talk and especially for the A block, where we're going to have a lot. And Patrick, Islander fans like you, we're going to need to talk about what they're going to do because Peter Engvall can't be their big trade deadline move.
Pierre
Engvall. I think I said Peter Engvall is like a news anchor, or he was a producer on Saved by the Bell or something like that. Too many things are up here, so guys. So it gets
and then we also have another sponsor named DraftKings.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to go ahead and you want to play the video for them.
Well, I guess. All right. We got this for you guys. We'll take a quick break for you. We'll do the DraftKings read.
Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do.
By the way, we're happy to be partnered with the Hockey Podcast Network, and we're going to be having guests from different shows come on with us all the time, and we're even going to guest spot on other team shows. So,
yeah, I'm working on one with a Dallas Stars podcast. I will be trying to get on with them, and I'll have more updates on that. So if you follow the Dallas Stars at all, I'll be on with them at some point.
And I am looking to have a guest spot with Devil State of Mind or vice versa. We're going to talk more Rangers Devils because there's a lot of news that came out about the Rangers Devils in the last couple weeks. So, Phil, who gets bumped from power play 1? It's got to be Tarasenko, right?
I would assume it's probably Vladimir Tarasenko. Yeah, for me, it's got to be him. I don't see how you take Patrick Kane off of power play 1. I really don't.
You don't get Patrick Kane to not put him on power play 1, even over Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah, I mean, Vladimir Tarasenko has already played some time on power play 2, so I don't think this is anything out of the ordinary for Tarasenko.
And when the Stanley Cup is the goal, and guys buy into that, they're willing to do stuff like this. Like Alexei Lafreniere, let's put this in perspective. He's a number 1 overall draft pick. One of his contemporaries just got a big free agent or extension. You don't hear Alexei Lafreniere complaining about anything.
No, I mean, he's just trying to go about his business. All right, so Alexei Lafreniere, what he has to do is he has to really, really, really go hard this offseason. If you want to get paid, you want to improve. The thing is that you got to take your offseason regimen seriously. And there are 2 examples I could think of in recent memory, and both of them are Rangers. And one of them is a former Ranger, and that's JT Miller. And JT Miller said that the trade to Vancouver was really what woke him up. It wasn't the trade to Tampa. It was the trade to Vancouver that woke him up, and it told him that, hey, I need to start taking this a little more seriously. And then Mika Zibanejad was told that he had to start taking his offseason regimens a little more seriously as well. And ever since then, you see an increase in speed, power, strength. It's big. It's important, and you need to see that in order for these kids to improve. And yes, they've got to grow into their bodies, but they've got to understand what it means to be a pro. And I hate using that cliche, but it's true. It's absolutely the truth. So when we see that from Alexei Lafreniere, I think he will take that next step, and I think he'll break out and he'll be the star player that the Rangers have drafted.
SJJJ is saying that, do you think this trade was fair? And the answer is no, it's not. It's absolutely not fair. But that's what happens when he left the Chicago Blackhawks, no option. And I say this again, Patrick Kane deserves to go wherever he wants to go. Roles reversed, if it was the New York Rangers sitting there with 3 Stanley Cups about to go into a rebuild and the Rangers had to trade him away, I'd still feel the same exact way. I mean, I feel the same exact way if a player gets to a certain point in his career you deserve to have the input from the player. And the reverse on this, Philk and I have talked about this at length, and that's Brian Leetch. Brian Leetch deserved to be a career New York Ranger. But instead, Glenn Sather traded him.
Yeah, and he traded him days after Leetch requested to not be traded from the team. And Sather did it behind his back without him knowing. So, that created a schism between Leetch and the Rangers. And, instead of Leetch coming back and, during the 05-06 season to play his last season with the Rangers, he ended up playing it with the Boston Bruins. So, it happens. And management, sometimes they want to go in different directions with these players. And Kane earned it. When you win 3 Stanley Cups, and you're arguably the greatest player in franchise history. I mean, if you want to argue Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita, go right ahead. But you can argue Patrick Kane, and you get that right, and that's part of why they have those clauses in those contracts. So
89 likes right now, everybody. Thank you very much. And Willie, I promise I'll dial it down a little bit. I'll keep the graphics to the bottom right corner to get people to like. That is my promise to you right now. Unfortunately, internet podcasting is sort of like the radio. You don't know when people are going on. You always got to make sure you're announcing everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter Engvall. As Patrick is saying, not enough of a standout. We already got average guys, Cy. But then again, I think about one thing Patrick's saying right there was what Colin Campbell said years ago when describing the Devils. He said a flock of interchangeable forwards. That's sort of what Lou really covets. He wants that top-end talent when he knows he can really go for it. We're going to talk more about the Islanders tomorrow night when we got Anthony back with us to see what their needs are. But there's a lot that's going to be happening. Iceman saying, isn't it great that we have to decide who's going to be on Power Play 1? I don't. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet got a better question for you on this, Phil. Does Turk start using the power plays a little bit more evenly?
I would hope so. But I get it when you have that type of talent on one power play that you might have an over-reliance to it. But you know what? If power play 1 isn't working, you now have a little more of a feasible power play 2 to send out there. And before this, the second power play unit was just garbage. There was just no reason to put them out there. And that's why they were getting 20 seconds a game at most, or 20 seconds per power play at most they were getting. And it's just, you can't put that type of unit out there. Now they have a somewhat respectable second unit that you can put out there. Not all teams are going to have great second units. Very few teams have good to great second units. Colorado, I could think of, has a good second unit. Tampa Bay had a good second unit. So now you have those types, and you can create a good second unit in the event that power play 1 isn't working. But I don't think there's going to be much of a change to the to the timing of it and the distribution of minutes, because I think it's still going to heavily favor power play 1 after Patrick Kane joins it.
I do have to say, I think in the run-up last year, they had 2 goals from power play 2 in the entire playoffs. That needs to get better, because that lets the other team know you can't risk it. You have to make sure that you're on your game every step of the way, and no matter what, just wave after wave. I think that's something that Viktor Tikhonov and the Russians used to talk about when conditioning wasn't about lasting the longest throughout the game. It was also to let you know at the very beginning, you are in for it. It is going to demoralize you in the first period because these guys are going to be that good every single step of the way. The Rangers need that. The Rangers need to do that. They need to they need to get that second power play unit needs to figure out exactly what it is. Does Kakko stay the distributor, or is that where they put Tarasenko? That's going to be a key factor. Is Lafreniere become the guy in front of the net, or is that Keetle? You know what? There's a lot of those questions. By the way, Phil, speaking about one good question, Trouble Laker is right now asking, what's the percentage on the New York Rangers keeping Patrick Kane? Because unlike Vladimir Tarasenko, I do think there's a small percentage on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a very small percentage of anything. It just I don't see where they get the cap to keep him. Could you move Barclay Goodrow? Yeah, you could, and I think they probably will this offseason. I think it's gotten to a point where you have to move him in order to keep somewhat of this team together. So looking at the Rangers cap situation right now, they have 38.8 million invested to forwards, 21.2 invested to defense, and then 5.66 for Igor in net. All the dead cap, which is about 3 million between Shattenkirk, Girardi, and D'Angelo, comes off the books after this year. So there's no more 3.427 million in dead cap space. That opens up quite a bit. The cap will be going up as well. Your UFAs are Tarasenko, Mott, and Kane. When he's not on cap friendly yet because it's not official. It's been announced, but it's not completely official yet. Your restricted free agents are going to be Hedel, Lafreniere, and Miller. So that's going to be a big one. Nico Mikkola is probably gone. He made 1.9 million, but he'll probably be gone unless he takes less to stay, which I doubt they're going to do. So yeah, I just don't see where they get the space from to get it done.
Well, the only question is, and the difference between, let me say this first. The difference between Kane and Tarasenko is Kane got his money. If Kane wants to go anywhere just to play, he could stay with the Rangers, but the Buffalo Sabres are going to be throwing a big contract at him because it works for so many reasons for him to go there. Vladimir Tarasenko has got one more big payday coming to him at 31 years old. He's going to want to go get that payday. He might enjoy this next couple months. Thank you very much, Vladimir Tarasenko, for whatever you're going to do. But he go get your money. We'd all do it for ourselves. Now, one thing I got to say, Phil, is arbitration eligible is Philip Hedel. Keandre Miller and Alexis Lafreniere are not. So the idea of the two of them really breaking the bank, I balked at that the last time around because I noticed the hammer on cap friendly. It's not there. That might actually cost Miller some money, and the Rangers might have to bridge him maybe 2 years until they can get clear of Kreider and Trouba's contracts, which we've targeted since for 2024, since we started basically the inception of this channel. And it's going to be an interesting thing going in right there with you.
Keandre Miller is going to command at least, I would say, 3 million. At least 3 million, probably more.
But you're not looking at 5.
No, I don't think you're looking at 5 right now, unless they somehow decide to go long term and then try to do it. I offered up. I think I might have mentioned it on here. I know I mentioned it on Twitter, but something like a Brady Shea deal that he got from the Rangers would be something that Keandre Miller could maybe get if they decide to go longer term. Mm-hmm. And go maybe 6 years or something like that. So I believe that could be something that they would look at, but I don't think they will, just because I think that they're going to try to keep everything down until that $8 million from Trouba comes off the books, and then maybe they could think about moving Chris Kreider when that no movement clause comes up. But although I'm not going to lie to you, I I find it harder to believe that they would move Chris Kreider before Jacob Trouba. I even though Jacob Trouba got the captaincy, I really think that you have a second pairing defenseman making $8 million, and he hasn't really been all that great these last 2 years. He's had moments where he's been good, like little runs where he's been good, but you have an $8 million defenseman who isn't on your top power play, who isn't a big point producer. I would have to think that he's the guy that's moved and not Chris Kreider, especially when his cap hit is higher. So.
And all right, so then we got, and then you got the Lafreniere one. He's not going to break the bank either. So
no,
that could free up some money. Again, that would be for Kane. Let's talk about one guy that I think should be really ecstatic about this deal today. And it's Chris Kreider, because now you're talking about a guy that's going to get a lot more pucks near the front of the net, because I think them moving Zibanejad to the bumper, because Panarin wasn't going to play the bumper. Zibanejad to the bumper, now that puts a little bit more rebound opportunity, I would say, for Chris Kreider. I don't think his deflection opportunity is going to be there as much as it was last year. Last year, when Zibanejad was launching bombs, Kreider was there to tip in a bunch of pucks. But this is a guy who's going to look at, who's staring at right now his second 30-goal season. Last year, of course, being 50 plus. But now you get a guy like Patrick Kane, who makes Ryan Strome look amateur-like on that right wing side.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, is that we talked about the lack of chemistry between Trocheck and Panarin, or the struggle with the adjustment in chemistry between Trocheck and Panarin, as opposed to Panarin playing with Strome. Now you have two playmakers on that line. You have two goal scorers on that line, and you can let Trocheck do a lot of the defensive work. And that's big. And that's big for someone like Artemi Panarin, and huge for Vinny Trocheck as well, because now he has two just great options to distribute the puck to. But with the power play, yeah, I mean, Kane, just the vision, the passing, the shooting, it opens up so much more for somebody like Kreider. And he's gonna get some goals out of it. I know that last year he shot at almost 20%, and that's not sustainable. But usually a percentage like that is more likely to be close to sustainable, as opposed to a volume shooter like an Alexander Ovechkin, who's taking shots from all over the place. Chris Kreider, everything is a garbage goal, a tip, a deflection, a jam play. So a lot of his shots are coming from high danger areas, where he has a higher chance of converting from. Just hasn't been the case this year. He's just had some bad luck. I think that a guy like Patrick Kane can come in and can be a reversal of fortune for him.
We're going to be answering more of your comments and your questions soon enough, so everybody throw them down below. We got Potvin Sucks is saying right here, I feel like Laffy gets treated like a little unfairly, but I guess, but that's to be expected with the first overall. I felt that he was one of the most physical players last year in the playoffs. Yeah, he was actually very physical for the Rangers last year in the playoffs.
Ooh, this is actually a good question here. Can someone tell me, as a diehard Rangers fan, what else do the Rangers need to win a cup? Well, I can tell you right now, they need Jacob Trouba and Keandre Miller to start playing the way that they played last year in the playoffs. Especially Miller. Miller was phenomenal in the playoffs last year. He stepped up big time. I think they may need an upgrade over Mikkola or Schneider on that bottom pairing. That could be one of their weaknesses. The other thing I would say is they don't have a true shutdown, like legitimate shutdown player like a Philip Deneau or Patrice Bergeron or something like that. That could come back to bite them. Mika Zibanejad plays very well as a matchup center for a guy.
I think Trocheck plays better as a matchup center, though.
I think he plays better as a matchup center. And now I think he could do that a little more, and he can play. And then, he could just get the puck to someone like I would say a Kane or a Panarin, and just kind of let him do his thing defensively. So this is a big move for the Rangers in that regard, because I feel like it frees up Trocheck to do a lot of the things that he may have had trouble doing with someone like Jimmy Vesey there, who can't provide you the offense. Because Vinny Trocheck, as good of a two-way player as he is, he's not a Bergeron, he's not a Kopitar, he's not Datsuk or Doug Gilmour or Sergei Fedorov. You got to have some offense there to help him out. And I think Kane, not only will having Kane help offensively in the fact that, hey, he's a shooter, but Kane's going to have them having the puck a hell of a lot more in the offensive zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are going to be times where they might get hemmed in their own zone. That happens. It does. But with Kane, they're going to have the puck more than not. And that's going to be big for that line.
That's the old Erik Karlsson line also, by the way. Now, I'm not comparing Patrick Kane to Erik Karlsson defensively speaking. I think
no, it's just
Kane
the principle of it.
Superior in that. But and by the way, people also neglect Artemi Panarin's a pretty good defensive player. I'm not saying he's winning any Selkies, anybody. Don't worry about that.
No.
He's definitely above average, and Trocheck is a little bit more of a better defensive center than Ryan never hits an open net Strome. But I think there needs to be a subtle adjustment, and I think you also hit the nail on the head, Phil. And I think about years ago, the New York Rangers traded Michael Del Zotto when they got back Kevin Kline. And what that did was that made that third pairing for them in their President's Trophy winning season in 2015 and their Eastern Conference Championship season in 2014. It made their defensive depth so much more that even when Pittsburgh, just one of the mistakes that Dan Bilesman made in that series, he stacked his lines. He put Malkin and Crosby together. Eventually, the Rangers just laughed and went, all right, we'll throw Girardi and McDonough against you, Stahl and Strawman against whoever your next one was. And then Kevin Kline, usually it was, I forgot Moore's first name.
John Moore,
thank you. And Moore, for 2 games, it was Rafael Diaz that, because of his suspension. And that really made things lengthening their lineup. As much as I like Braden Schneider, I think they need to flip Trouba and Schneider, or just to get the pairings with Miller and Schneider, Trouba and Mikkola. And you might see an uptake in both of those lines. Play them as much as you want. Matchups is what matters. That's what fucking playoff hockey is. And that's what you do. Now you get a guy like Braden Schneider who can let Miller pinch a little bit more aggressively, because we know Jacob Trouba is aggressive. And I think Mikkola would actually let Trouba be more aggressive, and he could stay back a little bit. He doesn't have to be the guy.
The only thing I would worry about with that pairing is the lack of foot speed on that third pairing. That's the big downfall, but they are a big physical pairing, and their size on those 2 pairings, like no matter what you do, Schneider's 6'2", 205 pounds, 210 pounds, somewhere in that range. Miller is as tall as a redwood tree, and he's 215 pounds or so. So, I mean, there's size, there's physicality to go around with those 2 pairings. I do agree that I think the better move is to play Schneider with Miller. I just think that they look at those 2 pairings and they see experience and youth, and they want to kind of balance the 2 of them out. And that's why Gallant refuses to break those pairings up. And I just don't understand that. But for me, I would rather have Miller and Schneider against a second pairing or a second forward group, a second line, instead of Miller and Trouba. The only thing I will say in regard to Miller is that he needs to stop chasing the puck around, and he needs to start, being better positionally than he's been previously. So if that doesn't change, then the pairings won't matter at all.
Isn't it kind of weird that last year we were saying the exact same thing about him?
Yeah, it's funny because the first half of last year and the second half of the year before, Miller was not playing well. He had hit like a rookie wall halfway through the 2021 season, and he just wasn't playing well. And you were like, okay, like, we're questioning this pick. What are we doing here? Comes in the next season, continues right where he left off, not playing well. And then sometime around February of 2022, everything changed and he started playing so much better and was probably their best defenseman in the playoffs. Adam Fox played well and he was putting up points, but in terms of defensive play and just all-around play, Keandre Miller was the better defenseman than Adam Fox, if you ask me. So,
By the way, reading off this comment before you do that, check out his channel for he does a great movie blog and a series. Gotta check that out.
Yeah, and then
considering but as Will Screddy is saying, considering what they gave up, it really plays out as house money. Fourth line with Easy on it, it rounds it all out. Yeah, Phil, I just hope Tyler Mott doesn't have another injury, and that could really help things.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I don't feel that bad with Johnny Brodzinski coming into the lineup. I just don't want to see Jake Locardio in there again. Locardio does nothing for this team. So I don't want to see him in the lineup. I think Johnny Brodzinski would be an okay replacement for Mott, but I would rather it not come to that.
Michael's asking, are the New York Rangers a Stanley Cup favorite right now? And I got to go with no, because it's the Boston Bruins. And
not the favorite. He said a favorite.
All right. Are they a favorite? I think they were a favorite anyway. I think they were in the short list, maybe 6 teams that can win the Stanley Cup. Everybody, non-New York pundits, said you could talk me into New York. I've talked about that there are plenty of guys that have had career seasons taken steps back. There's an article I have on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. I compared Igor Shesterkin to Dwight Gooden 1985 and last year. And in 86, obviously Gooden won the World Series with the Mets. I'll give you a hockey name for it that matches that right away. Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby's 2016 year, I believe, was his career best. And then he didn't win the cup for another 2 more years. And people forget, Philip Grubauer started games 1 and games 2 of that series. So there's lots of times where you can go, oh, this goalie's not having that great of a year. And then suddenly the great ones turn it on and something just clicks. Igor Shesterkin, it wouldn't surprise me on him because I thought they were dead in the water.
Bill Ranford, 1990.
There you go.
He was a guy that really wasn't on anyone's radar, and then he just had that incredible run for Edmonton in 90. I still say that Messier should have won the Conn Smythe, but I see why they gave it to Ranford. But yeah, I mean, Holtby's a great example of this. He actually entered that postseason as the backup, and Grubauer had it, and Grubauer did not look good in those first couple of games against Toronto, and then he lost the job to
I forgot who it is too.
Yeah,
because for me it was always Bill Ranford. I can't remember who.
No. I was talking about Holtby and Grubauer.
Yeah. All right, I got lost.
Yeah, I think you got lost there, bud.
Yeah.
But,
Joe Sena is asking Phil, how much does Kane have left in the tank? Remember Mr. Nash? I got to say this. A lot of guys rip Rick Nash. Rick Nash had a very good career as a New York Ranger. I know it wasn't the over-the-top move, but let's not forget, he was 6th or 7th in Hart Trophy voting in 2015, and that was when he was able to finally just relax and put everything through. I mean, everybody harps on his postseason, but because
he didn't score the goals, but you know what? He made offense happen on that line. San Luis and Stepan don't enjoy the postseason success that they have if it's not for Nash playing the way that the 200-foot game that he played. And yeah, I get it. You don't pay $7.8 million to be a checker. Yeah, the same way that Kane. We're not bringing in Kane to be a defensive winger. I get it. I do. But just because he didn't do that doesn't mean you should ignore the other aspects of his game. And he played well. And just remember, in the third game, it was the third game of the season, the San Jose game, because it was Arizona. Then LA was the second game with the McDonough on quick goal. And then it was the San Jose game, the hurdle game, that Nash left that game because Brad Stewart blatantly elbowed him right in the head with like a WWE type running elbow, Irish whip off the ropes. And they didn't call it. And Nash was screwed up. And then he came back. And then he had that incredible run where I think he was about a goal per game right before the Olympics. And Babcock put him on the Olympic team, because Babcock came out and said that, hey, this guy shut down Kovalchuk in 2010 and against the Russians, and he wanted a guy that could score, had size, and played good defense. And Rick Nash played some real good defense for the Rangers. Real good 200-foot game.
And if I recall correctly, I think it was Alec Martinez diving and just getting a piece of that shot in Game 5. He would have had the OT game winner.
He would have had the OT game winner. You are correct about that.
Yeah. So, I think, and Joe, I'm not like targeting you. I'm just saying a lot of people, they think Rick Nash was just a bum for the New York Rangers. He was a damn good player for the New York Rangers. Was he the greatest? Of course not. Could he have been better? Sure. We'd love it if every Ranger was Marc Messier. Come right over, win the MVP. Granted, your second season up in last place. Third season, win the Stanley Cup. Fourth season, still be a dominant player. Fifth season, nearly bridge the distance between the largest gap between 50 goal seasons. And if not for, I think it was a rib injury.
No, it was a knee-on-knee hit by Slava Fetisov in Detroit late in the year that kind of screwed his knee up a little bit. Messier.
Yeah, and that was it with him. So that's the reason why he didn't get it. It was a separated shoulder why Pat Verbeek didn't get it, because he would have been right there too. And then 97, great. And then unfortunately, all the drama. You could always check out our Hockey's Worst Breakups video that we have on there, because Marc Messier and the New York Rangers was one of mine. So.
And I keep seeing the grit comments, and it does kind of get old and tiring. Need a fourth liner, Max Domi. Okay, so Esa Tikkanen and Sean Avery, those guys are not available. They're very few and far between. And Max Domi was completely useless for Carolina last year in the playoffs.
Max Domi was a fourth liner for them.
And Max Domi ended up being a fourth liner when this was a guy that had a 70-point season, 3 years before in 2019? So, I don't see how you ask for a guy like Max Domi when Max Domi really hasn't been playing all that well. Yeah, if the Rangers could go get Max Domi and upgrade him over Tyler Mott or over Jimmy VC, okay, but Max Domi is not a grinder. That's not a guy that you bring in for a grinder. That's a guy that you bring in as like a middle six forward that can help.
Now, how much does Kane have left in the tank? Let's not forget last season, 26 goals, 66 assists, 92 points. That's last year. And Tarasenko, obviously he's dealing with injuries, but he's coming 82-point season. So if you just take last year's numbers, the Rangers just added 168 points to their, or 164 points to their.
You got to remember, like he's not like last year. Like his most common line mate last year was Alex DeBrincat, and he went from that to like Sam Lafferty, Tyler Johnson, Jason Dickinson, and then he plays with Max Domi finally over like last week and the week before, and he starts going off because he has someone to finally play with. And you know what? You can talk about what about Andreas Athanasiou? Andreas Athanasiou is like if Marty Ruchinsky didn't have hockey sense. He's a guy that can play. He could skate 100 miles an hour. And, you know, he had a 30-goal season years ago in Detroit. Yeah, that's great. But Andreas Athanasiou is not a high hockey IQ player. He's not a high caliber skilled player. He's a guy that's very fast and can take opportunity, you know, and is somewhat opportunistic with some scoring chances here and there. That's a guy that needs facilitators. And yes, Kane is a facilitator, but you also need a center that can help on that line. Kane is going from those types of talents to Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck or Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. So, yes, this is big for Patrick Kane.
By the way, Phil, there's a number that just jumped out at me. I got to throw this out to everybody right now because we still have 117 of you guys listening right now. Thank you all for watching once again, and we're at 95 likes at the moment. But this number just jumped out at me. Patrick Kane last year, and follow me on where I'm saying with this, guys. Last year, Patrick Kane minus 20. This year, minus 23. Last year, minus 19. The year before that, minus 7. A 76-point year in 2018 where he was a minus 20. I just gave you all those numbers, Philk. What's Patrick career plus minus?
I'm gonna say he's probably like a plus 10 for his career.
Plus 20. I just mentioned I just threw out there that Patrick Kane has, let's see, that's 43, 63. I just mentioned a minus 70 in 3 years, and he still has a pretty good plus minus.
And and those are the last 4 seasons. So that's
I took one from a few years ago where he was a minus 20, but
what year was
in
that?
Between he had an 8 and
that
a
was
2.
2018, right?
Yeah, 2018.
Okay, so 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. What do those 6 years all have in common?
No Artemi Panarin.
Yes, but there's something else that I'm getting at.
Or they're rebuilding.
They didn't make the playoffs traditionally in any of those years.
Okay,
and in 2020, they were a play-in team. And I mean, the Rangers were a play-in team in 2020. That's a dicey situation. But they were not one of the best 16 teams in the league in any of those years. They were not a great team. And Kane had a 100-point season in there in 2019. But this team has not been good overall. And people want to talk about analytics and plus minus. Those numbers are all going to look really bad when you are on bad teams.
Yeah.
So if you're going to look at those and you're going to use those as gospel and talk about, the analytics say that he's so bad and all this other crap. Watch those numbers rise up with another team. And I'm not talking about his defensive analytics because we're not getting him to play defense. So just get that out of the picture right away.
It's like this comment right here is saying, I can tell you as a Hawks fan, Kane will be far more productive than he has been this season playing with the talent on the New York Rangers.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And you want to say, raw stats don't tell you the whole story. Well, raw stats tell me that Patrick Kane was on pace for 70 points despite playing with bottom 6 talent. And that's pretty damn good. Seth Jones, look at this one from Will Scridia. Seth Jones, minus 34.
Yeah, he's going for the green jacket.
Yeah. That's got to be one of the worst in the league. So, and you know what? I would love to get John Klingberg too, but I don't know how that would work. But John Klingberg also plays the right side, so that's not really going to do anything. You need a left side puck mover would be awesome for this team. I will say that.
Will was also coming back with this one. Who is the closest to a Tom Brady to take less to win of the upcoming New York Rangers free agents? I think it's Kane. It's definitely not going to be Tarasenko.
I would have to agree. I think if there's some sort of way to make Patrick Kane work with this team going forward, I think Patrick Kane would be willing to stay here and play with his friend and try to go forward, with some, I don't know, with some salary bonuses and stuff like that. I think he would try to make that work, but I don't know how they make that work. I really have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, and again, I had a hard time seeing this trade even happening, but here we are. So, yeah, we've had some talented teams, but usually no depth.
Yeah,
as what Willie's saying right there. And this has got to be one of the big bottom six. One of the biggest trades. Again, one of the biggest trades in Rangers history. Gotta wonder. Oh, hey, well, Tommy, I gotta tell you, everyone is scared of the Bruins.
Yeah, that's the one team that and you know what? Last night's game was really entertaining to a certain point, and then Boston started clamping down. But that first period was a very fun period to watch. And Connor McDavid scoring 2 goals, scoring his 49th and his 50th against the best team in the league, and saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm not scared of you. I'll take you on." You know, if other teams are watching that, you know what, that's got to be a confidence booster to other teams, because Edmonton went toe-to-toe with them, and they played well enough to win that game, but the Boston Bruins they're a better team. That's what it came down to. So,
all right. Let's see. Michael's saying right here, I mean, what the Rangers are missing, they're loaded and stacked. What are their weaknesses right now that they filled some holes? There are some holes there. So
maybe some. I mean, the kids are really good, but again, you don't have a legitimate shutdown player in that bottom six. You don't. But the good part about that is that Barclay Goodrow can play that role on the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have that on your third line, I should say, but your 3 other centers can all play matchup. They can all play matchup, and the top 2 of them could probably score a bit while playing matchup.
And you'll probably see either Vinny Trocheck or Barclay Goodrow for every defensive zone draw.
Yeah, and that's another good thing, because you don't have to worry about that. I would say face-offs is probably a weakness. That's a real big thing, and penalty killing. Penalty killing is definitely a weakness. But I mean, now you got Tyler Mott and you got Jimmy Vesey. I would want to see that the 3 guys on the fourth line should probably be penalty killers, and then maybe Mika Zibanejad, and that's it.
Yeah, also, Kreider and Zibanejad can give you some offense.
Yeah, shorthanded, yes.
So there's that with that. You see some more questions right here?
Yeah.
Willie's saying we need Sammy Blais back.
Yeah, that's a joke, yeah. I mean, I guess if people want to say that they feel like this team is softer and smaller just because of, Kane and Panarin and stuff, and then I get the concern to a point, but if you think that Tanner Jeannot was going to be a better fit than Patrick Kane for this team, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. And this is a good one. Is this current fourth line better than the fourth line from 2014 of Boyle, Dorsett, and Moore? I would say probably not, because Boyle was a guy that was good for like 20 points. He even had a 20-goal season in 2011. And Dom Moore had a 40-point season years prior. So, I mean, I would say probably not, but it's close, just because Derek Dorsett really wasn't a skilled player at all. Like, he was a fringe NHL player. But the other 2 on that line just let him go and just run into everything.
Yes, and Dan Carcillo was also real good with that line.
Yes, he was.
Dorsett was tremendous. Now, I also think, by the way, the following year, everybody gave Tanner Glass a lot of crap. But in the playoffs, Moore, Glass, and Shepherd were a real good line. Was Shepherd, right? San Jose guy?
Jake Shepherd, they got him at the deadline. Yeah.
I think he had a goal in game 6, the
Or
Brassard
was that
hat
the
trick
next?
game.
Was that the next year, or was it?
2015. That was the next year.
No. I mean, did they get him that year or the year after? Oh no, it was 2015 because that was his last year in the NHL. That's right. Crazy to think about with James Shepherd because he was a top 10 pick in 2006 with the Wild and just never panned out to be the player that he should have been, and just oof.
And whoa, somebody said Shen is now a fish stick.
Yeah, I saw that, and I haven't seen anything about that anywhere. So
I saw that Shen went to Toronto.
Yeah, he went to Toronto. He didn't go to the Islanders.
Luke Shen is back to where his career started. So,
yeah, he went to Toronto for a 2023 third round pick.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that.
Man, that's always a fun one to look at too. With that one is Luke Shen and that 2008 draft, and just 5th overall to Toronto, and the guys that went after him, man, just Erik Karlsson at 15, Jordan Eberle at 22, John Carlson at 27. You just, oh man. And they got cut off by St. Louis at 4. And St. Louis, oh wow, Florida's
Who did
now
St. Louis get that year?
Nothing on Tampa Bay. St. Louis took Pietrangelo at 4 in that draft.
Oof.
Yeah, so Toronto got cut right off from better defensemen.
Pat's right here on that. What a nuts time of year this is.
Yeah, and it's
awesome.
This is awesome. It's definitely awesome. Leslie
and
says, "Showtime, welcome to Broadway." Yeah, definitely.
And also welcome to the show, Leslie.
Yeah, well,
there's also is Lava LP. Sorry, Phil. I think you had a comment too that you were highlighting, but you always have to have that set of intangibles needed to win. Who knows exactly what that is? Leadership, character, mental, and emotional. And I do think that's a big thing. I think it's a big thing. Now Patrick Kane is there. We still have 124 of you guys still watching with us from 2 hours on this stream. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And we even got, let me check that like count. It's and apparently I still have a date tonight. So okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So
I have a hockey game at 10, so I gotta go pretty soon.
No problem. We'll probably do another 15 minutes or 10 minutes. And we're at 103, 105 now on the likes. Everybody, thanks very much because this has been tremendous for us. And a tremendous day. If you're a Rangers fan, maybe who knows? Come back tomorrow, see the full show. We're gonna have a full show with this. I got a sketch that I have already that I gotta edit and get that ready for.
And then State of Survival asks who we think we're playing in playoffs. It's going to be Jersey.
It's going to be Jersey. I think they're safely locked into New Jersey. Unless something goes wrong, unless Jersey takes off with Timo Meier. There is a 3-point gap. Jersey's got one game. Sorry, Carolina's got one game in hand. But nobody manages the regular season like Rod Brindamore.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
And with the Rangers at 60 points, they're way ahead of the Islanders at 69 and 63 points.
Tage Thompson again. Ken Johnson sniped one out to make it 1-0 Columbus, and then Tage Thompson just came right back the other way and just absolutely was like, he went the same way. Far side top corner snipe.
Hey, Phil, don't look down. Detroit 7-3-0 in their last 10. Buffalo still threatening 58 points, one game in hand on the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's the one that you're watching right now. They can jump right back in there. What does Pittsburgh do? I mean, I understand you have to go for it, but Phil, that's a lot. Florida's up 3-0 on Tampa Bay right now, by the way.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that is that this Detroit team just came out of nowhere, and then I said that they were my surprise team, where I thought that they were going to, possibly make the playoffs, and I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but they were not looking good for the longest time, and they've had injuries to guys like Lucas Raymond, and now all of a sudden, like you're looking at them trying to make the playoffs. It's amazing because they're not getting the production that you would figure from certain guys. Like Dylan Larkin's having a career year, but Tyler Bertuzzi's missed time. Lucas Raymond's missed time. Mo Sider has not been great this year for them. I mean, I expected him to be in the Norris Trophy conversation, and he's only got 30 points right now in 59 games. Like, this is kind of crazy to think that Detroit is actually fighting for a playoff spot despite all of these things going wrong. David Perron, only 38 points, 15 goals. Philip Bronek's having a nice little offensive season, kind of reminding everybody of 2021 where he led the team in scoring. But he's got 38 points. Dominic Kubalik, not the 30-goal scorer he was as a rookie. And Lucas Raymond has definitely had a sophomore slump despite the injuries.
Yeah.
Andrew Kopp, he's on pace for maybe about 40 points. So a little bit of a downtick from the 50 that he had last year. But, I mean, it looks like the goaltending has really started to come around a little bit lately with Husso. He's starting to play better as of late. The numbers overall don't look great, but he's played a lot better overall as of late. So, but they seem to be having a little trouble with Ottawa these last two games, Detroit. And that's another team. I mean, the Senators smacked them around 6-2 last night after they were down 2-1. And then the Red Wings went ahead 1-0 in this game. The Senators have scored 4 unanswered.
Wow. 4 unanswered?
4 unanswered.
Oh, yeah, that was, yeah. Jeez. Because, the Senators beat them up last night, too.
Yeah. They were, like I said, they were down in that game 2-1. Detroit. They went up 1-0. Detroit tied it 2-1. And then Ottawa tied the game and then went ahead, and it got real chippy last night. And Jake Wallman actually took a big hit. I believe it was from Kastelich. That absolutely nailed it. And Marc Kastelich absolutely nailed him last night. And you could just see Jake Wallman was in some serious pain plodding around on the ice. And it was just kind of a sign of how that game went, like a microcosm of it. So.
And by the way, John Smith saying Ryan Strome is the Josh Bailey of the New York Rangers. Ryan Strome was also the Ryan Strome of the New York Islanders because he wasn't that great on it. Mr. Fantastic, of course. Great to always have you on.
Absolutely. One of the OGs. Daniel Bruce saying Kane will not fit into the Rangers, too old. I don't know what you've been watching, my friend, but I think he'll fit just fine.
I think that's a guy going to the Hall of Fame.
I think that's a guy that's going to end up playing on a second line with a whole bunch of talent around him. He's going to feast because he's going to be facing lesser matchups going forward.
Jeez, remember this? Talk about Ranger killers, Oleg Petrov.
Ooh, yeah. He was a pain in the ass. I believe Montreal he was with for a while. Was he with Minnesota for a little bit, I think, when they first came up?
Hey, Juan, do me a favor. Can you message me on I'll try to figure out how
it was Nashville. It was Montreal and then Nashville. But yeah, Oleg Petrov in the early 2000s, every time the Rangers played the Montreal Canadiens, he just he would just light the Rangers up. I just remember him always scoring and just being a pain in the ass against the Rangers. So,
Core saying that the analytics suggest that Jacob Trouba is an offensive dynamo.
And that's why I can't totally buy into analytics. There are too many people online that use them as gospel. And it's like, instead of having an actual discussion about a player and, talking about what this player does and why this player is, such and such, chart.
Yeah.
And nothing to it. Chart. Chart. And and these charts are just a lot of the times they're very inaccurate. Like they were telling me that Brett Howden was a good player. Like, no, Brett Howden is not a good player. He's a lap skater. And he had some little run last year where he had like he had one of his little runs like he had in October of 2018, where he had that nice little first month of his career, and then he just totally died off after that and was terrible. But he had a little run last year where he had a few goals in a row in Vegas, and the analytics were saying he was good. I was like, no, he's not good. Well, you're not watching the games. And you know what? The analytics can help to a point with certain things. But there are so many things that they leave untouched that they will never be able to provide context for. And that's why analytics are not independent no matter how much they claim to be. They will never be independent because every single aspect of a play affects the other parts of it. If I hit a pass to you and it's off by that much, is analytics covering that? No, they're not covering why that happened.
All stats need to be interpreted at all times.
Yeah,
that's the way to always say it. Because sometimes you can take guys with the greatest plus minus of all time. That's a stat that always needs interpretation.
Yeah, and plus minus, and another stat where a lot of contacts is left out. Oh, but what does this tell you if a guy that's is a minus 20? Okay, so he's on the ice a lot for a lot of goals against. Who is he on the ice with? What is happening when he's on the ice with those guys? Why?
Ryan O'Reilly won a Selke. He was a minus 26 at one point this season. Sometimes it just happens that way.
It happens. It does. Is Ryan O'Reilly trash? No, because he went to Toronto. Now he's playing with good players, and he's not trash. You know that a Selke caliber player like that is not trash defensively. It's the rest of the team. One guy cannot change the entire game in the NHL unless you are Connor McDavid. And Connor McDavid is producing on a level that only Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky have produced at. That's it. So that just goes to show you the type of player that you have to be to just take over the game. It's not the NBA. It's not.
No, and especially when your best player maybe plays a third of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a third. If you're lucky, most forwards don't play 20 minutes in a game. The defensemen do.
How about that one, Turk?
Yeah.
Make sure you get it there. All right. Phil, I'm going to start the music because I know you got to get out of here. But I'm going to ask one question that's going to lead us to where we're going to be getting out of here. Everybody, once again, this is Bye Bye by Phil Antonucci, my cousin Phil, who have been gone for years. Man, it's love. Well, the first round this year, likely still going to be Toronto versus Tampa, Rangers versus Devils. Which is the better playoff series?
Wow. I gotta say wash. I really gotta say a wash on this one, just because I think both of these series is going to be tremendous. I mean, if I had to pick with a gun to my head, I think maybe Toronto and Tampa might be, because that was a 7-game series last year. I think the Rangers can definitely beat the Devils. I think that other series is a little more up in the air. I think the Rangers will beat the Devils. Some people in there are saying 5 games. Sure, I can see that happening. I say 6.
I think it would have to take bounces for it to be 5.
Yeah.
And Same thing a little bit, Phil. Same thing a little bit with the Devils. I think the Devils, it would have to take bounces for them to be 5, but I think the Devils could take the Rangers at 7. But I mean, Toronto was loading up, and Kyle Dubas. You know, there are people saying extend him right now, and I can't help but say absolutely not. He has to win this playoff series.
I don't think even winning the playoff series now at this point guarantees him his job. I think he needs to at least get to a conference final for him to save his job. Maybe even the Stanley Cup Finals. I think this was it. I think this was win it all or gone, and that's what these trades reek of. They reek of that type of desperation.
Mr. Statistic is just saying right there, Devils goaltending defense and his experience will cost them in the first round. I do agree with him.
Bingo. That's what I said before. I think the Rangers had the edge in goaltending, defense. I think they also have the offensive edge. I think that the one area that the Devils have is that they're going to have a speed advantage, and that could cause problems. But I think the Rangers can absolutely handle the Devils.
All right. And everybody, once again, I still got 93 you watching right now. Make sure you come in. Check us out tomorrow night for our full show. And also the trade deadline special coming on Friday. There's still a lot of excitement. How about this? Sean's coming in to say, damn, I hear the closing song. Imagine somebody telling you Tarasenko and Kane would be Rangers this year without losing any important pieces. That is 100% correct. And by the way, Sean, you mentioned me say the word girlfriend because I got one. So I might be going to go see her in about it's about an hour. Unfortunately, it's not going to be that short a time. But yeah, wow. Chris Kreider is just he's 1 point to be the highest scoring Ranger in postseason history. How about that one? All right. Phil, closing words. Where are you going to be tomorrow night when Patrick Kane suits up for the New York Rangers?
A friend of mine wants me to watch the game with him, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with that because I know he has some family coming in, so that might not be the case. So I might just be at home or maybe at another friend's house watching it. But I can't wait to watch that game, I'll tell you that right now.
Right. We're going to try to be as quick as we can with the show tomorrow night. We might just do an A block, a B block, an A block, and then a bar talk, and then that's it. Because we covered a lot of your stuff tonight. Yeah. Even though we're going to have to ask some questions about the trade deadline. We'll do that in bar talk. We'll make sure that everybody gets to watch the Rangers versus the Flyers tomorrow night because that's going to be a big game for a lot of people. Islander fans tonight, you're watching the Minnesota Wild and a lot of other NHL fans. We do everything. So thanks for sticking with us, and thanks everybody for joining us. 89 is still in the chat. So I'll see you. We will see you tomorrow night, and if I don't see you tomorrow night, I'll see you Friday afternoon. There's going to be 4 hours of hockey talk. Can't wait for that.
Let's go, Rangers.
Everybody have an nice day. What do you think about that for a closeout line?